With me right now, ladies and gentlemen, is the former mayor of Atlanta, Georgia, former Biden domestic policy head, and she is now the Democrat nominee for candidate for Georgia, for governor in Georgia. She won outright in the primaries, been sitting, waiting to see who she's going to face. Former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, how are you, my dear sister?
I am great. Always great to talk to you. And just one correction, I won't take anything from my friend Ambassador Susan Rice. She was domestic policy advisor. I was head of public engagement.
I got you. My apologies on that. My apologies on that one. So Decision Desk HQ has called the race for Jackson. He's dropped a social media, Facebook kind of thing that says, "Thank you, Georgia. Let's go on to November." But AP hasn't called the race at all. What are your thoughts, and what are you guys seeing?
You know, Shelley, I've said all along, Burt Jones and Rick Jackson are one and the same. You know, Burt Jones is an election denier who had the support of Trump, and then you had Rick Jackson, who said if he's elected, he will be Trump's favorite governor. So to me, they are singing from the same hymn book. It's all about pleasing Trump. It's not about delivering for the people of this state. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, or independent. There are certain issues that people want their governor to resolve, including this affordability crisis. We want our literacy rates improved. Small businesses want support. Teachers want to be better paid. There are things that are consistent that transcend party lines, and with all the millions upon millions of dollars that they both spent. Rick Jackson, I believe, is close to $120 million at this point. Burt Jones, I believe, close to $20 million of his own money. They're not talking about these issues. They're talking about how they are going to please Trump, and Trump is not doing anything for the people of this state right now.
We're on the phone with former mayor and Democrat nominee for governor here in Georgia, Keisha Lance Bottoms. You said a couple things that you want to focus on as governor. As a conservative on this side of the fence, I didn't hear much of what my guys would focus on, particularly Jackson, who seems, they haven't called it yet, but some have, some haven't. I heard immigration. I heard men and women's sports. What is the most important issue of those issues that you just mentioned that if you were elected governor, you would focus on at first?
I can tell you, Shelley, as I am traveling around this state talking to people, what people are talking about is the cost of living. Medicaid expansion is desperately needed in this state. We've had 9 rural hospitals to close. We are one of just under a dozen states that have not expanded Medicaid since the beginning of the year with the big ugly bill. 500,000 people have opted not to have health care insurance. Small business owners are talking about how their premiums have tripled. Affordability has to be addressed in this state, and a huge part of that relates to our health care costs. Also housing costs, no matter where you are in this state, whether you are an urban community or rural community, people are talking about housing costs, rental costs, being able to live in their homes in dignity. These are issues that come up repeatedly, whether I'm in Atlanta or if I'm in Albany, if I'm in Montezuma, if I'm in Macon. These are consistent issues.
And so affordability. Talk about education. On my side of the fence, I'm hearing it in the GOP meeting rooms, county organizations. I'm hearing people talk about Mississippi beat us, not only in football, but they're beating us in education. Where's your platform? What does your platform say about fixing education in Georgia?
Yeah, it's called the Mississippi Miracle. Mississippi has gone from number 49 in literacy rates for their kids under 4th grade to number 9. And they did it through a series of measures. Essentially, they went back to the basics. They went back to having literacy coaches in the schools, which I was very happy to see that the state of Georgia is now doing that from the last session. I've got to give credit where credit is due. But they did a lot of things that went back to the fundamentals, very similar to how you and I learned as kids, focusing on phonics and I call it the old school way of teaching.
Right.
If Mississippi can do it, surely with the resources that we have in this state, we should be able to do it as well. Our teachers make an average of $43,000 starting pay in the state. $43,000. So you've got teachers who are working 2 and 3 jobs just to be able to teach our kids. I want to raise that starting pay to $60,000. I also want to eliminate state income taxes for our teachers. I believe it's something that can go a very long way in helping to ease the burden that they're facing just as they try to educate our kids.
That's an interesting plan because on my side of the fence, they're talking about eliminating the state income tax for everyone. You're saying it's for teachers, which is a fascinating play because we need teachers. Clearly, that's something I would be for. But my side can't really yell at you about that because they're for eliminating from everybody. How do you push back towards to the idea of eliminating the state income tax for everyone and just doing it for teachers? Can you talk through that a little bit?
Listen, Shelley, I don't get any great joy when I receive my tax bill. So I don't know of many people who like paying taxes. If we can do it responsibly, I'm all for it. The challenge that I see is that it's not done responsibly. We've already seen that. We've already seen Brian Kemp have to eliminate even support for foster kids because he's having to cut places out of the budget to fill in these gaps because of what's anticipated with eliminating these taxes. The reality is this, most of our property taxes, that's been a big discussion, go to support our local schools, public safety, et cetera. Income taxes, if we can find a revenue source that doesn't make us have to put that elimination on the backs of everyday working people, sign me up. But the challenge is we don't have that revenue source at this point. What will happen if we wholesale eliminate state income taxes without having a revenue source to fill in the gaps, then you're going to see everyday things go up. You're going to see if you apply for a license, that will likely go up.
Fees.
Those fees
Right.
and costs will be passed on somewhere, and it's likely going to be on the backs of everyday working people.
It always is, my sister. It always is. Last question, right? I just talked about, I don't know. I know your husband very well. He played sports growing up. I know your kids play sports growing up. I told a story early on that I was that kid that if my mom gave me a brand new indoor, outdoor leather basketball for Christmas and I went out to play, after playing for a while, if my team lost and I looked at it at the people waiting that had what we call in pickup basketball next, and I had a long time to wait, I would take my ball home. I'm using that analogy with what's going on. Mr. Dooley, which was a favorite of mine, has lost the Senate, so I'll be talking to Senator Ossoff tomorrow. It looks like if Burt Jones doesn't close this gap, and they've already, one group has already called it. They just called it for Rick Jackson, so you will be going up against Rick Jackson. I'm not comfortable with that. I said I'm taking my ball home, and what I mean by that is I could possibly be, as it stands right now, on Team Keisha. Talk to us about specifically running against Rick Jackson.
Well, I would be honored to have your support. So thank you for even considering that, Shelley. Again, Rick Jackson made $1 billion off of a no-bid contract from the state of Georgia. He talks about, that he understands the plight of everyday working people, yet he's attempting to curry favor with Donald Trump. And he's saying, I'm going to be Trump's favorite governor. Well, Trump doesn't care about everyday working people. He's told us that. He told us he doesn't care about inflation because it doesn't impact him. He doesn't care. So what he's already signaling is that he is going to be an extension of the Trump White House, and that's not faring well for people across this state. I'm not a perfect candidate. I'm not a perfect leader, but I can tell you I care deeply about the people in this state. I care deeply about the issues that people share with me. I've said as I've moved around the state, the faces of the people that I've interacted with have become the faces of this fight, because when I see these people, I see people like my mother, who struggled as a single mother when she and my dad divorced. I see people like my father, who struggled with addiction but was just a wonderful person who had an illness. I see people like my father who were incarcerated. I see people like my uncle who struggle with mental health issues. I see my children who are concerned about their future and what will this future hold in this world that it's not always shown kindness. So I don't profess to be perfect, but I can tell you I'm going to work every day to do everything that I can to make this state a better place. And as I've seen the countless ads from Rick Jackson on television, it is more the same from Donald Trump, and it is bad enough that we've got to see it out of Washington, D.C. It will be terrible for us to have to live with that every day in this state.
Last question. How do you fight? Burt Jones was leading. He had all the experience, lieutenant governor, a limitless pot of money. How do you go up against a billionaire who's willing to spend any amount that he has to win a race?
I'll tell you, Shelley, I'm a woman of deep faith. And, I just told my daughter, me plus God will always equal a majority. So, when I entered this race, I didn't know where the resources would come from, but I knew that if indeed I had prayed, which I did, and if it were the vision that God had given me, which I believe he did, that he would give provision. And I still believe that. We have probably over 40,000 donors at this point, probably averaging less than $100 each. Giving to this campaign, which people can support at KeishaForGovernor.com. But I can tell you, as somebody who grew up with a single mother, I'm doing a lot with a little is very
easy.
It's something I'm very familiar with. So
Yes.
I've always had to do more with less. So would I love to have an unlimited supply of money? Yes, I would. But I also believe that in not having as much as he has, it's just showing me the favor that's on this campaign. And even when you look at the Democratic side for the May 19th primary, we probably combined, 7 of us probably didn't raise $20 million combined. I'm sure we didn't. And Democrats still outvoted Republicans by 150,000 votes. Now we can put in that number, those Republicans like you who just may not like what they're hearing from the other side. We can put in that bucket independent voters who have gone back and forth between parties. So I believe our message will always resonate with people who actually care about this state.
Well, Keisha Lance Bottoms is going up against Rick Jackson, former mayor. And as it stands right now, I can tell you, my sister, as I said, I'm not liking what I saw on my side at the Senate level. I'm not liking what I saw at the gubernatorial level. So let's keep talking. You're always welcome to come on the show. But as it stands now, I'm taking my Republican ball home, and I'm going to play with my sister and the Bottoms family right now. I'm mad. I'm mad, my sister. I'm really mad.
Well, let me tell you, Shelley, for you and all your listeners, there is a home for you here.
My darling. Give that. How can people give money? Can find out more about your campaign again.
KeishaForGovernor.com, KEISHA, KeishaForGovernor.com.
And that's all spelled out, correct?
Yes.
Yep. God bless you. Thank you for calling in on election night. I really appreciate it. I know it was late. I appreciate it. But it's you versus Rick Jackson. Good luck. And we will be talking again soon.
Great to talk to you as always. Thank you.
Absolutely. God bless you. Let's got a couple minutes, right? No, not really. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back on tomorrow. Probably we'll have Senator John Ossoff on. As I said, I'm taking my ball home. I'm upset. I'm going to go home. I have my thoughts. I have my feelings. I've shared most of them with you. I'll share this last thought with you. I do not like someone who takes $120 million to win a job that pays $200,000. That is not me. That is not how I was built, and it reeks of corruption to me personally. I'm a party man, but I'm not a dupe or a sucker either. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It's the Shelley Winter Show. Talk to you soon. Oh, know this in your heart. God loves you. Peace.